Hi, this is Devin Sawyer. I'm a supplemental instructor working with Professor Bert Miller to create a series of videos to teach 3D animation in Cinema 4D. Now that we have all of our assets, we can begin building our scene. First, let's compile each one into a single project. Placing them here will save time when creating our hallway layout. I've called this my asset zoo. Since we're making a sci-fi hallway, I wanted my assets to have a metal material. Cinema 4D has hundreds of materials available natively, but you may want to explore third-party materials by online creators. AmbientCG.com is an amazing website with thousands of pre-made assets, HDRIs, and materials, all completely free. Just type in what you're looking for and pick whatever's to your liking. Once you have something, you can create a materials folder inside of your asset folder. Drag the contents from your downloaded zip file into that folder, then create a subfolder with the name of your new material. Bring the images into the subfolder. Back in Cinema 4D, open the Material Manager at the top right corner of your screen. Then press the plus icon to create a new material. Double-click the material to enter the material editor. Your material properties are on the left. Notice that each image provided in the zip file you downloaded corresponds to one of these properties. In the Color tab, click the File icon, then navigate to the JPEG with the name Color. You can press Yes on this pop-up window. In the Reflectance tab, click Add, then select Beckmann. Click the drop-down arrow next to Roughness, then load in your Roughness JPEG. Open the Reflection Strength, drop down, and add in your Metalness JPEG. Now you can drag the material to each of the assets you want it applied to. I also created a purple material to use as an accent color for my assets. If you want a material to only apply to a section of an object, you can highlight it using the Selection tool. Open the Select menu at the top, then click Store Selection. A triangle icon will appear beside the object in the Objects menu. Drag the material you want to use onto the object, click the material icon, then drag the triangle icon into the selection box. Once you're done adding materials, you can add a plane object to the scene. Adjust the width and height segments to 1 and turn on Garage Shading with Lines. Enter Edge mode at the top of your screen. Use the Selection tool to select the top and bottom edges. Then use the Scale tool to increase the length. Press K, then L to use the Loop Cut tool, then make a cut somewhere in the center of the plane. Adjust the offset to 50%, then change the number of cuts to 3 and press Enter. Use the Selection tool again to select the left and right edges on the top and bottom squares. Select the Extrude tool, then click and drag to the right to extend the length of these edges. Adjust the rotation to 90 degrees and adjust the offset to 278 centimeters. With the inner edges selected, adjust the width using the Scale tool. Your plane should now be in an I shape. This will be the floor of our hallway. We can now bring over our assets. Instead of directly using the ones in our asset zoo, we'll select the one we need, then create an instance object that we can drag over. This will copy your objects without creating extra geometry, which should speed up your computer's processing. If more wall panels are needed, we can add the instance to a cloner object. We don't want the seams between the walls to be visible, so we can hide them using our columns. As you continue to set up your scene, remember to use the 4-view mode to make sure your objects are properly aligned and aren't floating above the ground. Continue making instances and clones of your assets, and feel free to adjust the size of them as needed. Once you've blocked out the general look of your hallway, you can start thinking of the perspective it will be viewed from. Create a camera object and check that it's active by selecting the square icon next to it. With it highlighted, you'll be able to adjust the camera's position in the viewport. Deselect it once you've decided on the shot you want for the final render. Pressing Ctrl-R will show you what your render will look like inside your viewport. As you can see, I wasn't happy with how the material looked once rendered. To replace it, I navigated to the Asset browser at the top left of my screen, then searched for a metal material. Once I found one I was happy with, I added it to my Material Manager, then began replacing it on each of my objects. Here's what my scene looked like afterwards. Continue the final touches on your asset placement. When you're happy with it, you can create a light object in your scene. Experiment with where the light is placed, the color of the light, and the intensity parameters. Multiple lights can be added to the scene to add variation to the environment. With the lighting placed, the assets modeled, and the hallway built, you're finally ready to export. Click the gear icon at the top right of your screen to edit your render settings. Changing the aspect ratio to 1920 by 1080 is acceptable. Make sure your frame range is set to current frame, so only one image is rendered. In the Anti-Aliasing tab, set the anti-aliasing to best. Select Effect, then add Ambient Occlusion to your settings. Exit the Render Settings menu, then select the Render to Picture Viewer icon at the top right of your screen. Once your image is rendered, right-click it and select Save Image As. Your file type should be set to Still Image, your file format should be rendered as a TIFF, and your bit depth should be set to 16 bits per channel. Select OK, navigate to your image folder, then rename your image to Hallway Render.